The battle that I've gone through for the last couple years. Yeah, it was very hard for my mother to accept.
He's entitled to payouts from his late father's trust, but Cher's worried the money's gonna go straight to his drug use. He's arguing that she is the best person to be the conservator.
Have we learned nothing from the Britney Spears situation?
Don't think it was right what her father did.
Cher is trying to force her son into a conservatorship against his will. Her son Elijah does have issues with drugs, but Cher isn't trying to treat his addiction. She could care less. Cher filed for control over his estate, and that's because his father is a rock star who passed away and left Elijah with his money. So now Cher wants it all to herself. Let's get into it. I have an interesting video for you about Cher, which will make you look at her differently because the way that she's going after her own son is not okay. Back in the 70s, Cher was married to a man named Greg Allman. He is a fellow musician and they were together for 4 years. So they had their son Elijah together and then they ended up going their separate ways. Growing up in a divorced home isn't easy, especially when you have two celebrity parents. I mean, Greg, his father, had a lot of fame himself. I mean, Cher has been around for a really long time, but his father wasn't a nobody. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017, and ever since then, it's been downhill for Elijah. So now we're at the point where I'm going to explain to you guys how Cher is trying to put her son in a conservatorship, blame it on his drug problems, and steal his portion of the estate that his father left behind. Now, this really started to unravel last year, and where Cher started to pick it up in courts. Actually, she filed this conservatorship in the same courtroom that Britney Spears' conservatorship, the one that we've heard so much about, was filed in. According to the court documents, Cher hired this woman, Gabrielle from Loeb & Loeb, to file for the conservatorship. She actually was part of Britney's story because at one point she was Britney's court-appointed attorney, which really isn't a good sign. This woman wasn't on Britney's side, she was on the court side, and as soon as Britney was able to fire Loeb & Loeb, she did. I want to be upfront with you guys that Elijah is no angel who's being taken over by his evil mother. He has his problems too, but he's still a good guy. He just has issues with drugs, which, I mean, a lot of Americans do. And also imagine growing up and the environment he probably had at home probably was not easy. So you could say, okay, Cher, she's trying to be a loving mother and put her son in this conservatorship so she could help his drug problems. But that's not even what she's filing for. She just wants the money. Cher does admit in court documents that her son has severe substance abuse issues, but she's saying that she has no interest in actually helping Elijah get treatment because she did not file for a conservatorship of the person or his medical affairs. She only filed for a conservatorship over his finances because she wants control over his money. One thing I want to acknowledge is that Elijah isn't in denial. He realizes he has a problem. He's showed up to court and he's defended himself, and he's even spoken publicly about, what his addiction is like.
The battle that I've gone through for the last couple years, the last few years and all the things in Germany, it was a lot for my family to accept, and to deal with and to, not be in denial of, because I'm sure it's very anxiety causing and nerve wracking when someone falls ill and could potentially not be around. But I will say, however, I think you got to stay kind of in the trench emotionally, and be with that person through the whole step of that fight.
Are you saying that your mother didn't say that's cool?
Yeah, it was very hard for my mother to accept.
Now, I want you to acknowledge with me that he is very coherent. He's clear-headed. I mean, he acknowledges his issues and he's being upfront about it. A conservatorship is not for someone like that. I mean, a conservatorship I think should be rare, but it's for someone who has dementia. And one of my ex-boyfriends, actually, his family member was put into a conservatorship because they were shot in the back of the head and they were now disabled from that point on. So there are places for conservatorships. He is clearly speaking on his strengths, his weaknesses, and he's coherent. Despite all of this, Cher is pushing forward and the courts are on her side. right here. Just, I mean, at least at this step, because Judge Brenda Penny, the same judge in Britney Spears' case, which is insane, signed an order for her own motion to appoint an attorney named John Guy for Elijah instead of allowing Elijah to select his own attorney. Imagine if you are put in a situation and then you are just tossed a lawyer who you have no idea who they are, who they really work for, or where their integrity lies. But to sum up, what Cher is asking the judge to do is to appoint her as conservator of Elijah's estate, give her the distributions owed to Elijah's estate through his existing trust, establish a new account for the conservatorship at a financial institution of her choosing, deposit all assets from the trust into the conservatorship account for Elijah's benefit, which, keep in mind, means that the account, this like conservatorship account that Cher wants to establish, will be paying for all the lawyers, the court fees, everything. So now this guy is going to have everything taken from him, and then he's going to be charged for this, and then whatever treatment they try to put him into. I mean, God, remember Britney was all lithiumed up.
Have we learned nothing from the Britney Spears situation? Some people believe that this whole thing might just be a ruse to claim ownership of her late husband, who passed in 2017, Greg Allman's estate. At first, I didn't think anything about it. Cher is already incredibly successful in and of herself. But then, I saw who was presiding over the case. Can you guess who it is? Judge Penny. The same woman who ignored Britney Spears' pleas for help for years. Sounds kinda sus to me, but I really hope it isn't. And why does it have to be a conservatorship anyway?
I don't know what Judge Penny is up to, but it just seems a little bit schemy, allegedly, that like she's the person to go to quickly put someone in a conservatorship. I actually made a video about Cher not too long ago about her son being kidnapped by men she hired to take him to a rehab facility, which I want to say, like, if someone's struggling with drugs, I understand, like, anyone would do anything to help them out, but kidnapping is a little bit too far. Like, if Cher was accused of hiring men to kidnap her son and force Elijah into treatment against his will, which she denied at first, but now admits in these court documents, why would she be the best person to be his conservator? Now, one thing that Cher argues is that she has priority of appointment, so she is the first in line to become conservator. And she actually cites a code, a California probate code, saying like, yeah, I'm the one that should be the conservator because I'm his mother. Well, that's not what this code actually says. He's got a wife that can be his conservator, who is the rightfully person to become his conservator. And then there are a few other options. Like, Cher's pretty much like fourth in line. But Cher heard their argument and she clapped back even harder, saying, no, like, your wife is not allowed to be your conservator. And she cites this divorce filing from 2021 where Elijah filed for divorce against Angela. This actually never was finalized in court. They pulled out. Angela has helped Elijah, checking him out of the treatment center that his mom has forced him into. But Cher claims that Angela is not entitled to be a conservator, and the court must apply a clear and convincing standard of evidence to prevent Angela from becoming a conservator.
Cher's recent court filing highlights the need to safeguard Elijah's finances and health. She also thinks that Elijah's former wife, Mariangela King, isn't suitable to care for him and is interfering with his recovery. This follows Cher's claim that King had tried to remove Elijah from a hospital for treatment last year. A court decision on a temporary guardianship is expected on January 5, 2024.
Now, Cher claims that she's willing to talk to Elijah about who he wants to be his conservator, but hasn't been able to talk to him yet because of mental and physical health issues that Elijah is going through. Now, Elijah is in his 40s. He is young. Cher is close to 80. So it doesn't really make sense that she's going to become the conservator of someone when she, won't be around as long as he will be. Yet she's convinced that she needs to have control over his finances. Again, he can do anything else, but he won't be able to use his money. Another issue in this conservatorship situation is that Cher lives like 3 hours away from where Elijah lives. So unless she's planning on moving Elijah, how will she be able to be his day-to-day conservator? Being a conservator is like being a parent. You're supposed to be there with them, I would assume most of the time, to ensure they're okay. You are like their guardian, because typically these people are so incapable of making their decisions that they do need like one-on-one care. But that's why this doesn't make sense for Elijah. Another red flag is that Elijah doesn't even have a lot of money. He's actually going to get the first distribution from the trust before Cher's conservatorship can even be appointed. So he's going to be getting some of this money, though again, it's not a ton compared to Cher, who's worth over $300 million. Literally, Elijah's got like $120,000 that his father passed down to him. Remember, Cher and Greg had a brief marriage for only about 4 years. And honestly, I don't know why she would want to take this little bit of money away from her son. I'm not trying to say a little bit of money. You guys know what I mean. I mean, compared to $300 million, of course, $120,000, a lot of money. I mean, I would take that. Like, thank you. I mean, not for a father passing away, though. That's really sad. But like, anyways, a lot of money, but like not Cher level money. Like, you know, it's chump change to Cher. But Cher wants more than just like, you know, Elijah. She wants her ex-husband, like his estate, maybe control over like rights to his music. I don't really know what she would want from his estate, but she put a bond of her own money down, pretty much like matching the amount of money he's got, saying that she is ready to go for it. She wants this role, and there must be something more that she's looking for.
The documents also say that he is entitled to payouts from his late father's trust, but that Cher is worried the money's going to go straight to his drug use rather than his living necessities. She is arguing that she is the best person to be the conservator, and she says that she even got 2 letters by 2 of her children to nominate her for the role. Cher then made a dig at his estranged wife, saying that she's undermining his issues and that he needs to get help. Does anyone else feel super stressed about conservatorships ever since the Britney Spears of it all? I'm sure Cher has very good intentions, but it always stresses me out whenever someone's going to get their life signed away to have someone else manage their life for them.
As I mentioned, Elijah did get his first installment of the estate because she filed it a little bit too late. I believe like 3 days too late. So she really tried to get that filed, but there was like a 5-day waiting period where they had to like respond. So she essentially lost that fight. I mean, but she still wants the rest of everything. And it's interesting because when speaking about Britney Spears, she said that Jamie Spears wasn't right for putting her in this conservatorship, even though she like kind of knew about it. So it's just kind of giving me sketchy vibes.
Don't think it was right what her father did. It seemed to serve him. You know, no matter what the help that she needed and needs, if she's still needing it, I hear things, but no matter what, you just don't, you love your children and sometimes you have to step in. I didn't like it, so I wanted to let her know that I was watching and I was listening. When we were in Las Vegas, everybody on the Strip knew. We just didn't know how deep it was, but we knew something was really not right. And you could tell, you know, everyone would say, oh, she's medicated, but just not enough to not be able to work. And I mean, you know, when people talk, they multiply things, but I knew there was a certain basis, you know, there was that grain of truth in it, so it bothered me.
So it's pretty disappointing to see her stand up for Britney Spears and to be one of the early Free Britney supporters, but to do the same thing to her son. I mean, he doesn't want it, so why do it? Now, Angela is Elijah's estranged wife, and she has something to say about Cher trying to start this conservatorship. While she admits that she's had a rough going with Elijah, their relationship wasn't great, there was drug addiction and mental health crises, but Angela has said what Cher is doing to her son is deeply disturbing, and throughout their relationship, Angela had no say into Elijah's treatment. She really never had a decision. So I don't know why Cher's trying to discount like her ability to take care of him and saying that she would be a bad choice. Not saying she's a good choice because she's an estranged wife, but there shouldn't even be a conservatorship to begin with.
Elijah Blue Almond's wife actually does make a statement to page 6. Now the title is Elijah Blue Almond's estranged wife, Mary Angela King, blasts Cher for throwing her son into a lockdown facility before filing for a conservatorship. The article goes on to say that his wife is going after Cher for throwing her son into a lockdown facility in Mexico just a couple months before filing for conservatorship. The wife tells page 6 exclusively that she has been historically excluded from making decisions regarding her husband's care, including when Cher allegedly kidnapped her own son and placed him in a locked cage in a rehab center instead of a legitimate, ethically operated facility.
Angela claims that she's always wanted Elijah to be sober, but to go to a proper facility, not these like cages and these sketchy spots that Cher keeps sending him to. And thankfully, Elijah does have her like in the outside world when he is locked up to get him out and to even show up to court and defend him. So she's not letting Cher get away with this.
She goes on to say, I'm not okay with pop-up, makeshift, unethical scam rehabs that take full advantage of families in desperate situations and seek to fraudulently exploit insurance companies for services not rendered. The article goes on to say that she was not okay with Elijah being coerced into a treatment facility in October and participating in an alternative medicine regimen that resulted in his being forced to sleep in a locked cage with 6 other individuals. For her part, she also denies that she ever enabled her husband Elijah with the substance abuse, and she maintained that she's never suffered from any form of substance abuse, mental health, or addiction issues. She says she hoped to settle these issues privately with her husband if she could just get access to him, but instead, Cher jumped the gun and filed for the conservatorship behind everyone's back.
Can you imagine being locked in a cage with 6 other people and being told to sleep? I mean, that sounds worse than prison. It doesn't sound like rehab at all. I'm sure if Cher went to a rehab, it would be like some bougie spot in Malibu. But no, she's sending her son to Mexico to be locked in a cage. Because of Elijah's addiction, Angela and his relationship has been really rough. And they've been together for like, I believe over 8 years. It could even be like 10 years at this point. But Elijah actually decided to move to dismiss the divorce filing because he didn't want his mother, Cher, to step in right when he became a single man and not have Angela there to support him. The move comes days before he is expected to appear in court for a conservatorship hearing brought by his mom, Cher, which I think is such a good move on his end. Like, maybe the divorce is right for them. It probably is. But like the fact that she would maybe agree to dismiss it to like ensure that he's got someone out here legally on his side is like so great of her. In October, Angela claims that she had not seen Elijah since late April after they agreed to work on their marriage. Though Angela claims that Cher had continued to interfere with her son's health management as well as his location and accessibility during that time, so working on their marriage wasn't easy.
Despite a clear pattern of being habitually bulldozed over and repeatedly undermined, a pattern that has existed throughout the 10-year marriage, the wife wholly rejects any inference that she's incapable of caring for her husband or making sound medical or financial decisions on his behalf.
Shout out to that surprise witness. BJ is the best. But when Cher has been confronted about this, like, Cher, are you trying to lock up your son? Like, are you trying to take away his rights? Are you trying to steal your ex-husband's estate? She says that rumor is not true and declined to comment further. Okay, well, we've got court documents. It's true. Cher has gone so hard on Angela. I don't think she's ever liked her. She's been in their lives for a long time because they've been married for at least 8 years. So this is her chance not only to drag her son on his addiction issues and make it about that, but also to bring down his wife and say that she's not fit to help him in any capacity.
So the blind item is this one-name singer has always hated her son's wife. Now she gets to say it publicly. It will be interesting to see whether the wife does anything legally to challenge the singer. I mean, estranged wife does imply that they are still legally married. So I do think it's a little bizarre that a wife would not be like one of the leads on, you know, the rehab of their own husband. But what do I know?
I believe that Cher has actually lost her battle in court. Her son is not going to be put into a conservatorship, but there are different ways that she can go and try to go after him. And I don't know why she would feel so ruthless against her son. I mean, she's almost like 80 years old. She's got her own life. She's still out here singing and doing press. Like, I understand the addiction thing, but like the conservatorship is just a little bit next level. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.